Okay, I think we've just about got everybody on now, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. And first of all, my name is Susan Nagy with Riversand Technologies. I would like to thank you for joining today's webinar on how enterprise data management enables unique device identification. Our presenters today will be Kelly O'Neill from First San Francisco Partners and Ross Hart from Riversand Technologies. To maintain the audio integrity, we have muted everyone's line. Please submit all questions to the host via chat, and they will be answered at the end of the presentation. So now at this time, I'm going to turn over the presentation to Kelly.
Thank you, Susan. Good morning and good afternoon for those of you that are on the East Coast. We really appreciate the time that you're spending with us today to talk about this important topic. So what I'm going to do is go through a few slides, then turn the presentation over to Ross. My name is Kelly O'Neill, and I'm a managing partner at First San Francisco Partners. We are a consulting company that helps clients with their information management strategies and implementation. Having a problem turning the slides forward. There we go. Okay. So the purpose of the discussion today is to create an understanding of how enterprise data management as a practice and as a core competency can assist organizations comply with the UDI regulation. This webinar is not intended to provide legal advice, so I just want to put that qualification in there. We are an information management consulting company, not a compliance and regulatory consulting company. However, we'll give a brief overview of the UDI regulation and then talk about how a robust data management process and infrastructure will help you to have better data accuracy, transparency, and consistency, and therefore be able to better comply with the UDI regulation, as well as adapt to new information as it's released over time. So what we'll do is we will go through a brief overview of UDI, some of the data components that we know of currently included in the regulation, and how enterprise data management fits into the regulation and the ability to comply with the regulation. We'll talk briefly about how to get started and then some tips for ensuring success. So to improve adverse event reporting, to better identify and track counterfeit products, and ultimately to improve patient and safety care, the FDA Amendments Act of 2007 mandated the creation of a unique device identifier system. The system was intended to assign a unique identifier to medical devices distributed within the United States, and the Act includes language related to the establishment of a unique device identification system. So when implemented, the new system will require a label on a device to bear that unique identifier. That unique identifier needs to be a coded number, and that unique identifier should be able to identify the device through its distribution and use. And so in doing so, the ability to create that identification creates a standardization of vocabulary, and this standardization enables reporting and better electronic tracking capabilities. That improved tracking capability will then hopefully improve the ability to identify adverse events, to notify patients and providers accordingly, and to help prevent things like counterfeit products in the marketplace. So by the med device companies working together with the FDA and the government, they can together help improve patient safety and care. So in its most basic format, this unique device identification would be a coded number, and that coded number is then registered with the standards body within the government that will also have their unique device identification database. And that number would need to include things like the manufacturer of the device, the legal manufacturer of the device, the make and model of the device, expiry dates and production dates. And then there will likely be additional attributes that will be released over time or confirmed over time that will also need to be included in the unique device identification that is on the label. Regulation does indicate that all manufacturers of medical devices will be required to comply with the new methodology, but that requirement is phased over time, beginning with those high-priority devices called Class 3 devices that happen to be life-sustaining, implantable, or in other ways riskier, but also more important to both the patient and the provider. So this UDI system has potential to improve the quality of information in medical devices, which will then help the FDA identify product problems more quickly, will help them to better target recalls and improve patient safety, as I've mentioned. But the process that a medical device company will go through in order to comply with the regulation will also help them to rationalize and improve their product data quality in general. So essentially, that this compliance process will enable medical device companies to better leverage product data by having that robust infrastructure and the processes in place to ensure data accuracy. This will in turn improve reporting and analysis. It will improve decision-making and operational efficiency. So the act of putting together your infrastructure, your people, and your processes will also improve your ability to leverage product data in other aspects of your business as well. So this is a real opportunity for medical device companies to use this regulation as an opportunity to upgrade potentially or revisit the way that they manage product data, and therefore to improve their product data, not just for the purpose of the UDI compliance, but in general to improve other aspects of their business as well. So now I'm going to go into enterprise data management and how that applies to the unique device identification. So enterprise data management is a component of enterprise information management as the, I guess, umbrella practice that it falls into. So enterprise information is a holistic approach to managing all information within an enterprise and as information is shared outside of that enterprise. That includes things like business intelligence and analysis. It includes data management, which is what we will focus on today. It includes things like asset management, content management, and then content delivery through multiple channels. And a true information management approach is not just the architecture and the technology that's used to manage that information. It is also the governance and the organizational involvement and alignment to ensure that information management is a core competency within a business as opposed to being just a technology implementation. And the whole goal, of course, is to better manage information as a value-producing asset. So let's drill down into the data management component of this framework. And this is really where the impact to the unique device identification does occur. So enterprise data management is that component of the people and the process, as well as the enabling technology that facilitates the ongoing creation and management, and ultimately the archiving and deletion of data. So this is really where the organizations can leverage the infrastructure to comply to the UDI regulation. So by looking at their data quality approach, by looking at their data governance practices, and how they can pull together data from different systems and different lines of business into a master data management approach will help them to have a single place to create and manage and ensure that that unique device identification is optimized. So within the enterprise data management framework, we are going to focus on those three areas. So the next group of slides will go into how data quality management, data governance, and master data management will help to meet the UDI requirements. And these are really the key components of EDM that facilitate the UDI requirements. So data governance is one of the key business processes that play a supportive role in UDI compliance. Data governance addresses the people and process side of enterprise data management and ensures accountability and ownership of the different data elements. So by getting the business people involved in data governance, an organization can really drive the adoption of data standards as a way of doing business, as opposed to trying to create standards and improve data quality just from a technology perspective and just on the back end. As well, data governance by nature pulls in different lines of business in a consensus-oriented approach, and in this way can include all of the stakeholders from across the manufacturer, as well as include the distributors of those devices to ensure that there is an understanding and a creation and a usage of that data consistently. So this really helps to drive the adoption of the best practice of having a UDI within the company as a true and ongoing core competency, not just as a one-off reaction to a government regulation. So let's drill down into data governance in general. So data governance is an organizing framework that establishes the strategy to ensure that your data is available, usable, consistent, of high integrity, and is able to be audited and traced over time. So it's important to recognize that data governance is a framework, and it's not a one-size-fits-all for all organizations. The reason is that different organizations are constructed differently, so therefore the way that they govern their data is going to be unique to their business processes within their company. It will be unique to their culture, and it will be unique to their decision-making and organizational structures. Some organizations are highly decentralized, some organizations are more centralized. So the way that data governance is implemented in each company is going to be unique to that company. However, there are some consistencies across data governance. So this data governance framework is a way of identifying what are the key components within data governance that are going to be evident in any company that adopts data governance. The way that these components are adopted and implemented may be different, but those components are still there. Fundamentally, you need to have a strategy around data governance. So what are you trying to accomplish with data governance? Maybe initially it is just trying to govern the data that is necessary to comply for the first tranche of the Class 3 devices within your organization. Maybe you are looking at governing product data more broadly. But the idea is you want to create a strategy that can then be used as a rallying point to get other participants involved in the way that you manage data and govern data. Importantly, you want to make sure that the organization is in place. That organizational component is where ownership and accountability for the different data elements are assigned. And it's important to have that ownership and accountability because that is where there are people who are specifically identified and compensated to ensure that those data elements and the attributes of those data elements are accurate, so that when the identifier is produced and submitted, that it is in fact reflective of the accurate device and has full traceability in the audit trail to determine that it was an accurate indication. So ownership and accountability is very important. And it is very difficult to get ownership and accountability without governance as a proactive practice. Governance also includes the policies, processes, and standards. So by getting this cross-functional group together and by having people from a labeling organization, a manufacturing organization, the compliance organization, and the IT or the technology organization, you can create policies and standards that can be implemented that also comply with the regulation. So this is a way of ensuring that decisions are made incorporating all of the interests of the people that are involved in the entire information management process to ensure that those standards are achievable and meet the requirements of the regulation. Now, importantly, measurement and monitoring, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in the data quality section, but measurement and monitoring are an important part of data governance because it helps to demonstrate proof of adherence to the requirement. So by being able to measure accuracy of data or being able to monitor that every product has gone out with that unique identifier on the label and that that unique identifier is traceable back to the manufacturer, that is most important. Technology is a great enabler of data governance, and we'll talk a little bit about data quality and master data management technology and how that also will facilitate compliance to the UDI. And most importantly, communication and change management is something that is very critical to the success of data governance because it is important to keep the entire organization aware of how you're governing your data, why you are governing your data, the importance of the UDI compliance to the whole company, and the way that those new practices of governance and data management in general can be leveraged to improve the way that data is created and managed across the rest of the organization. So data governance happens to be a great place where a company can start to adhere to the UDI compliance just by looking at how they have addressed their data standards and their policies. So specifically, by having a governance group or a governing body within the organization, it can help the organization do tactical things like manage product data changes more easily. So by having a governance group together that represents the entire chain of how product data is created and distributed across the organization, you can have a clearer, more accurate process when information changes. So for example, if product data is changed in the creation process, but that product data creation is not, or that product data change is not necessarily made evident to the labeling system, then that change is not necessarily reflected on that label, which is, of course, the most important component of the UDI. So having a clear process to notify each different organization that's in the chain of product data creation as well as labeling and then distribution to the different wholesalers or providers in general, having that clearly identified and executed within an organization is very critical. And in that way, product data changes do not fall through the cracks, but you can make sure that each time an element of that, or rather an attribute to that product changes, that it is changed along the entire supply chain of data and ensures that it appears on the label in an accurate way. Data governance also helps to ensure that approvals are done properly within the organization. So by involving the correct business people and the correct stakeholders within a governance initiative, you can ensure that there is approval at the proper level within the organization and at the proper time when product data is being created and distributed. So this is a key component around being able to demonstrate to a regulatory organization that you are complying and that there is auditability in your practice. That comes through data governance and through documentation of policy and process to demonstrate to regulators that you are adhering to the UDI regulation. So I'm not going to go through all of these bullet points because you can read them as I'm talking, but suffice to say that the people and process side of data, which we call data governance, is a great way to get started in your compliance effort. Next, we're going to talk about data quality. So data quality is really the core capability of managing the accuracy, consistency, and completeness of data. And this plays into the UDI compliance when you are trying to pull together data from different data sources. It's necessary to first understand, do you have all of the information that you need in order to comply to that UDI regulation? Do you have the accurate representation of the manufacturer? Is that field complete? Are all of the data attributes necessary for compliance complete? If they're not complete, how do you then make sure that they are complete? So data quality is looking at that fundamental record-level element of the product data to ensure that it is ready to be released and that that unique identifier can be assigned and submitted to the regulators. Now, data quality from a process perspective is managed by your data governance organization, and the guidelines are set up by your data governance organization. So if you've put in place a cross-functional data governance group, then they can get started creating those standards and those requirements around data quality that will be necessary for your organization to comply. And data quality tools help to provide a monitoring capability for that data as well. So data quality is generally broken down into 7 different dimensions. So it is things like completeness. Is that field complete? It is conformity and consistency. It's also ensuring that there is accuracy. For example, if there is supposed to be a representation in a field that is a specific part number, is that an accurate representation of the part number? Is there any duplication in part number representation? And if you have inaccuracy or if you do have duplication for different part numbers, that has an impact downstream when you are trying to create that absolutely unique identifier for that product. So data quality is a great first step in analyzing your data to understand how difficult it is going to be for you to put together a UDI compliance program. Starting by doing data profiling of the Class 3 product data to understand how complete is your data of those different attributes that are required by the FDA to be a component of that unique identifier. Do you have all of those data attributes? And if you don't, how else can you get those data attributes? Do you need to have a manual process to enter those data attributes if they don't currently exist in your systems? So this is a very tactical and specific way to ensure that you've got all of the information and that that information is in a state that is accurate and timely in order to be compiled as part of that unique device identifier. So data quality is something that happens to be pervasive within an organization, and poor data quality is something that inevitably permeates an organization very quickly. And there's a very classic statement by Wayne Eckerson, who's one of the thought leaders in business intelligence and information management. And basically he says that he calls it the rule of 10. And the thought is that if it costs $1 to complete a simple operation when the data is perfect, then it costs $10 when it's not. So you can imagine that your cost and your effort associated with identifying the completeness, the accuracy, the consistency, and the timeliness of your data is important to do on a proactive basis in order to most cost-effectively comply with the UDI initiative. If you aren't addressing data from a high-quality perspective, your ability to comply to the regulation is going to be more expensive and less efficient. So this is a very good early-on step to ensure that you've got efficiency in your processes to comply. So data quality is valuable both from a business as well as a technology perspective. So one thing that it does is it helps to ensure that there is trusted data for adverse reporting and decision making. By ensuring that the data is accurate and that it is not duplicated, you can really trust that that data that you are looking at that data that is being presented in the report is true and verifiable, and therefore you can make decisions and react in those very important times like adverse reporting. It enables you to do better complaint tracking and to ensure that you have a clear understanding of complaints of different devices and different products, and be able to tie those complaints most accurately to the devices and to the manufacturing plants in which those devices were created. From a technology perspective, it ensures that the data that moves across the systems is consistent and is complete, and this reduces the amount of effort that a technology organization needs to spend making sure that that data is smoothly transitions between systems. So they can create the concept of a single architecture, they can create consistent data integration strategies, and they are assured that the data, as it moves across that architecture that they've created, is consistent and is of high quality, as opposed to having the IT organization having to double-check the data quality and data consistency. If data quality is proactively managed by the business, then all the IT organization needs to do is ensure that the systems are in place to successfully move that data as it's represented within each system. And they can also implement those monitoring and measurement capabilities as well. So now let's look at master data management. So master data management for product data is also called product data hubs. It's also called product information management. And a product information management system is really that core repository that pulls in shared product data from all of the different systems within an organization. So it is this centralized repository of those key product data elements and those key product data attributes that are shared across the organization. So you'll hear it called MDM, you'll hear it called MDM for product data, you'll hear it called product data hubs, you'll hear it called PIM. These are all essentially the same sorts of systems. And information moves both into an organization from external sources as well as outside the organization. And a product information management system, or a hub, enables the organization to consolidate that data from external sources, from internal sources, and have a single place to release that data into external channels. So you may get data from a data pool or a content aggregator. Maybe when you put together your product data, you are leveraging DUNS numbers to accurately identify the legal entity of a manufacturer. Maybe you are leveraging GS1 identifiers as part of your product data, and you're pulling that external data into your internal systems. Within your enterprise, you probably are creating product data in an R&D organization, and then that product data moves from the R&D systems into a manufacturing system. It also could include the labeling system, of course. So as the product is manufactured and it needs to be packaged in order to be shipped, the labeling system then needs to have that same and consistent product data in order to accurately create that label. The information that is on that label, ultimately, that is the information that is submitted to the FDA as that unique device identifier. That labeling information and that product data may also be sent to your distributors. It may also be sent to a catalog or a print company to do print catalogs. It's sent to your e-commerce and your web organization so that if you are selling your products on the internet, that's a way that you ensure that that product data is consistent. So essentially, that hub, as that central repository of product data, ensures that when you bring the data in from external sources, when you bring data in from internal sources, that you have a single repository of high-quality, shared, and trusted information. And that single repository sets you up very nicely to ensure that the unique device identifier is created and that creation is traceable and auditable, and that the submission to the FDA regulatory body is consistent, accurate, and traceable. So it's a great single repository. The other thing that is nice about having a PIM solution is that may be a unique and single place that your governing organization can focus their business processes and the creation of their rules to the data that's held in your PIM or your MDM system. So essentially, I've talked through these bullet points, but this is the PIM solution really provides you a centralized place to manage and govern the data that is necessary to comply to the unique device identification regulations. And having that within a central place enables you to modify it more easily if necessary. It enables you to monitor it and measure it from a single place rather than trying to pull together data from multiple different systems on an ad hoc basis. It gives you a single place from which to create that unique device identification, do your measurement, etc. So it's a key component of building up that technology infrastructure. So finally, how do data governance, MDM, and data quality work together? Well, essentially, the data governance organization creates those standards, creates those data definitions and those business rules. So they're the ones that ensure that when they identify a manufacturer, that manufacturer name is unique and standardized so that when that manufacturer data is then sent to the PIM system, that it is a consistent representation of that legal manufacturer. Now, a data quality tool may be able to profile the data to identify how many different representations do you have of that manufacturer. And so it can give you some awareness that, yes, in fact, you have 4 different representations from a data perspective of that single manufacturer. And it helps to provide guidance to that governance group to ensure that they're creating standards and defining data in an accurate way. The data governance group also helps to identify the hierarchies of those products. So, for example, maybe it is a product that is within a certain product family, and that product family is manufactured at a specific site. So identifying the clear representation of that hierarchy is defined by the data governance organization, but that representation is then implemented into a PIM solution. And that implementation of the data in the PIM system helps to then ensure that that data is accurate and monitored. And then those technologies can provide feedback in the form of measurement and monitoring that help the data governance organization ensure that they are providing value back to the business. So now I'm going to spend just a little bit of time talking about getting started, and then I need to turn it over to Ross, who is anxiously awaiting since I've gone a little bit over time. So essentially, I think the first step would be to start with data governance. Starting with data governance ensures that you are pulling together the right people that represent the different lines of business, that represent the IT organizations, and that enable you to understand your organizational readiness. They are the people that can do that assessment around where is all of the data located, do we have the necessary data in order to comply? If we don't, what's necessary to enhance our data, and how are we going to do that? So that group of data governance people can help with that organizational readiness. Then you can start with a data quality program. As you're figuring out how you want to potentially master your data, data quality is a great place to get started because you can start profiling your data and truly understand statistically where the gaps are and where the inconsistencies are in your data. And then start with a pilot. Take a subset of the devices that your organization manufactures to start to go through the data quality and then the mastering exercise to ensure that you can get it right and that you build upon this from an incremental perspective. And then that pilot can build over time so that you can add additional products to your UDI program, and that you can also adjust your UDI program as new information is provided either around the attributes that need to be tracked, maybe it's clarification of the definitions of the attributes, or maybe it's that the federal government starts to give definitions around certain attributes rather than leaving it up to the med device companies to create their own definitions. But starting with a pilot enables you to learn over time without having a big bang approach. So just a couple of slides around the information lifecycle management. So the idea is you want to be looking at your information as a life cycle so that it can be governed, that it can be cleaned. You want to make sure that then you can actually consolidate your data in a single place, that it facilitates the sharing of data internally as well as externally, for example, to the federal, the FDA organization. So I talked about most of these bullet points as we were going through the presentation, but one thing that I do want to emphasize is that many organizations are doing data governance, data quality, and master data management within their company someplace. So it's important to identify where are these capabilities occurring within your own organization, and how can you leverage that prior work experience so that you're not reinventing the wheel. Where are people governing data? Where do you have a data quality tool? Maybe you are mastering data somewhere within a single line of business or a single manufacturing organization. How can you extend that mastering approach to leverage from a compliance perspective? Lastly, make sure that you look at this as people, process, and technology, and not just technology, because technology is a great enabler, but if you don't look at the people and process components of it, it will just be an implementation and not a sustainable program going forward. I'll skip the advertisement on First San Francisco Partners, and I will turn it over to Ross. Okay, Ross, over to you, my friend.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I believe the slide deck will be up.
So, Ross, you are now the presenter, so you need to have the slide deck on your laptop.
Very good. Thank you. So what I'm going to do is talk about what is product information management from the sense of the technology and take over from the people and process. And then I'm going to talk shortly about where is it being used so everybody can kind of get their head around the other areas other than the UDI. And finally, when does that become important? Where are the marketplace objectives that go beyond UDI when people realize that they have a tremendous ROI, a tremendous benefit to investing in the technology of a master data management system for the product domain, or what we call a PIM, Product Information Management Solution. In the end, I'll go ahead and give you a 2-second on Riversand as well. So product information is being sent out to your web stores. It's being sent out to your mobile. It's, of course, going out to the customer service call center, your salespeople who are in the phone center or on the road, retail kiosks. It's also going social. And then, of course, it's your email promotions. It's your search engine metadata that you're creating. It may be shelf tags if you're also selling products where people could come in and shop, and also direct mail catalogs for your consumers, your medical professionals, and your resellers. There's also product information going out to some of your internal systems, such as the warehouse management system and forecasting and accounting. And all of this information needs to be accurate and timely so that it's got the same things that your sales channels require, such as names and UPCs and descriptions, etc. People are usually managing this information in multiple locations, like Kelly said, and are also creating it by use of spreadsheets, and quite often people are managing it in silos. And because of that, it's incomplete, it's not timely, and there's delays that miss forecasts and sales, or possibly customer descriptions aren't quite accurate in different channels. And then there's the high cost of making it right, and also the high cost of possibly losing a customer. So the concept is the PIM solution, gathering information from all the different contributors external to the system, such as vendors and data pools and marketplaces, and getting that information into a company where they can then further enrich it with additional attributes and also the UDI information necessary, and use that as a centralized hub. So it's one source of truth. So when that information about a product goes out to possibly the internal systems like CRM and the WMS, and to all the sales channels, it's coming from one hub. Any changes, it's done in one hub. Any new products, it's done in one hub, and it goes out, and it's always consistent. So the first thing I want to talk about, I'm out in the marketplace quite a bit. I'm talking to a lot of companies in manufacturing, distribution, and retail, and the thing that I want to talk to you about today is what are the initiatives that are driving the PIM purchase, the need for the technology, the need for then the data governance, the need for the processes. Well, it's usually four things that are most popular. The companies either make an investment in upgrading their web channel, and usually that means a new website platform. Very popular to then bring a PIM solution in with that website replatforming. Another one is endless aisle initiative. Companies want to go from 100,000 SKUs that they inventory to 2 million SKUs and have a large dropship initiative that can be a single point of destination for quite a bit more product availability. A third one is a company that has either regulatory or they have sales growth initiatives where they want to win with content. They want to improve the content in all of their channels about a product, and also the liquidity of that content to get it out quickly to their channels. And then fourth, finally, empowering the reseller. Getting product information cataloged into a file that they can ingest easily so that the reseller, whether it's a distributor or a retailer or someone selling direct to the medical marketplace, can take information in very quickly and easily and always be up to date on new products that the distributor or manufacturer has created. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the features of each one of these different initiatives so that people can get their hands around and say, yes, our big thing is endless aisle, or our big thing is a re-platforming we're going to do next year. Maybe we should look at a PIM system to help improve the content and liquidity of that initiative. So the first one is the web platform. You sit, you watch web demos from the different platform suppliers, and they set shopping expectations because their demonstrations show a tremendous amount of content about your products. And so you realize that you, once you go live on their solution, to have that same rich shopping experience, need a fail-proof process for content generation so that you internally can create such excellent content and provide that same experience for your customers. And of course, you're looking at trying to get better quality of content, consistency, and error-free as you grow the attribution of your product data. And you need it to be somewhat effortless. You know, it need to get into your web and go into your mobile and go into your other salespeople systems in a somewhat effortless and automatic way. Finally, product information is really good. Product information with photos and videos and information like that is excellent. And the digital asset management process and the tagging and the repurposing has become a huge subject for people in their liquidity process. Next is workflow. The flow process of actually getting information in from suppliers, getting in from data pools, getting it in from other places, then enriching it further and then getting it out to your sales channels is becoming a huge process. So the first thing is the PIM system will allow you to very quickly define a workflow and what are the first steps that would then spawn a workflow for a new product. It might be a product manager introduces a new product. It might be a merchant, purchases a new product. And that kicks off a workflow that then goes to some of the contributors internally in your organization, such as the SMEs, the copywriter, the photo people, and then finally the final approver. And the final part of a PIM workflow is the product destinations. Where's that information going to? So that the PIM will automatically syndicate that approved new product content or revisions to existing products or further enrichments to existing products, such as UDI numbers, out to the web, the mobile, and your other sales channels. A workflow in a really high-quality PIM solution will have a lot of automation. It'll automatically notify people, both internal and external, by email or text message what it is that they need to contribute. And they'll click through it. It'll show them just the attributes about that product that they're responsible for, and they'll fill it in and it'll go. If they're out of town or they're on vacation, it'll automatically escalate that request to a backup person so that you're still on time with introducing those new products. If there's a change about a product, as Kelly mentioned, from a data governance perspective, it could automatically notify a subject matter expert of that change or request their approval of that change by the PIM's automatic workflow. The ability to assign multiple people responsibility for a particular set of attributes about a product and automate the information request to go to the person with the shortest backlog, or round robin, so that person 1, then person 2, then person 3 gets the next product, or notify everybody, and whoever's free first, be able to pull that particular product and fill out the attribute information. So advanced workflow is just a huge process in getting products enriched and out to the marketplace quickly. So through that process, you'll be able to see where that action is, who's on that product next, and what's the activity being done to it, and what's the person that finished it prior, when did they get that done. Advanced workflows will typically show you a priority, such as these red and yellow buttons, as to which products are starting to fall short and at what department they may be falling short, and when did they get it, and when did the ones that have already approved it let that product out. Of course, data quality is huge, and the ability to define within the PIM data validation rules so that people entering content or uploading spreadsheets or XML files will automatically get notified of anything that doesn't meet the validations. Also creating within the PIM constraints so that field links or field ranges or exclusions of characters that can be put in are predetermined, and again, notifying whoever's entering it that it doesn't meet the constraint, and making sure that you're getting quality data in right in the beginning, and then, of course, identifying any content that might need further cleansing. An example would be getting automatic color-coded identification of a business impact and the type of issue in your data, and then how often it's occurring by doing that profiling, standardizing, cleansing, and enriching your content further. Data quality is also important to be able to see an audit trail of the changes that have happened to the attribute of a product so that you can see the attribute value and the most recent date it was modified, who modified it, whether it was a person or a system or a file upload, and then be able to see the history of those so that you can revert back to any of the other previous versions of that attribute value very quickly and easily. One of Riversand's customer, Global Healthcare Exchange, takes a tremendous amount of information in from their medical suppliers. They then take it in the PIM, and they will then enrich it further, and very easily through our syndication module, syndicate it out to all of the hospitals so that they all have very rich information, including UDI information, so that they can quickly purchase the right item the first time and let it get through their supply chain to wherever in the medical area it needs to be used. Data globalization for a lot of clients is very important. The ability to possibly create it in English and syndicate that content out to other languages automatically. And when that local language translator reads through it, if they change a word to something that's better for their local area, being able to have that change memorized so that even that will automatically get changed when it comes to them and that word is reused in some other product. Then there's the media assets, which I mentioned earlier. Inbound, when you're receiving media assets into the PIM, the ability to automatically have that asset file quality assurance check to be sure it meets your minimum dimensions or file type, and be sure that before it gets in, the video or the photo or whatever that asset is appropriate, and then automatically gets tied to the appropriate product content. On the outbound, the media asset module of a PIM will also dynamically change that, let's say, photo so that its pixel size and the file type automatically is transformed in the syndication process to the destination, whether it's to a reseller or it's to an internal website, so that everybody's receiving it the way they would like to get that media. Then there's the Endless Aisle initiative. This is the second very popular reason why people will get a PIM. They need to easily import vendor-supplied content and data pool-supplied content so that they can get it in and get it enriched and get it out to the sales channels to tremendously grow their SKU count. Data pools such as GS1 content, and then data pools that are specific content like CNET and ELIS, and automated survivorship, so that if you are getting some content in about a product digitally from more than one source, such as a vendor and a data pool, you can automate within the PIM the survivorship rules for each single attribute as to which one would survive. And then automatically possibly get paragraphs and blobs of data from vendors and identify with it automatically which little pieces of information are truly attribute information, and extract it and put it into the PIM without any human involvement. One of our clients, Bed Bath & Beyond, is growing their SKU count from 300,000 to 3 million solely on a dropship initiative. They're using a dropship middleware product called Commerce Hub to communicate the purchase order process, and then Riversand to communicate and grow all of the product information related to those SKUs. If you go to their website, you'll see towards the bottom their specialty shop section for all of these dropship items. So during the data import process, a PIM user can then bring that content in, whether it's, let's say, an Excel file. They'll be able to map the data manually for anything that didn't automatically map from column to column, and then look at the quality of the data before they then make it a permanent part of their repository. During that data import process, they can have survivorship, they can have automatic validations occur to the data, and then automatically kick off a workflow to further enrich the new products that have been brought in by file import. There's also the vendor portal capability of a Tier 1 PIM solution, where your vendors can go on and they can either keystroke or import their own files, look at the data validations, further enrich it themselves, and then digitally communicate back and forth between a product manager or a merchant, and allowing that product manager or merchant then to accept the items they'd like to market and let it automatically kick off a workflow to get the other contributors internally or externally to further enrich it before it gets syndicated out. This is an example of Riversand's vendor portal screen, and it goes through the ability to allow a vendor to work productively in contributing products without having to have training or support. Another thing I mentioned was being able to get blobs of data from vendors, such as a vendor may just contribute paragraphs of information, and you're trying to get that information into the PIM as attributes, and you're just going, well, somebody would manually have to read this. But instead, with one of our add-on modules called PDR, the solution will use the rules that the PIM user has identified to identify within that paragraph what information is truly an attribute and automatically move it into the PIM without any human involvement. Then the third thing is winning with content, being able to improve and further enrich content. And one of those things is the ability to manage multiple colors, sizes, and other type of styles information so that you're managing a product at a higher level. Instead of 4 different colors one at a time, and 4 different sizes one at a time for 16 products, you can manage it at a level higher, create all of the information that's the same between all those different color and sizes, point to the color and sizes, and automatically explode that content and create 16 products, and later on further manage those 16 products so that when you know to add another item or discontinue an item, you can do it at that high level. The ability also to create what I call folksonomy, the ability to have faceted navigation throughout the website and the mobile site so that people can go into it and navigate using various criteria that they find more important, whether it's manufacturer, dollar range, or certain attributes. create relationships such as kits and upsells, manufacturer components within the PIM so that an item has its relationship items, and those can be passed efficiently to your ERP. And channel inheritance, the ability to identify attributes that would be inherited to certain sales channels and not send all the content about that product to those channels. So style item management can be done very easily within a screen like this where you're picking out multiple colors and multiple sizes. Also, you can automate the creation of data from more granular subsets of data. An example would be one of our clients, Overstock, which internet retailer just named second best natural search results out of the 250 top internet commerce companies that they track. And what you can do is you can take information in your PIM, create rules in the PIM to then identify which ones you want to combine so that it'll automatically populate other areas within the PIM, such as your title metadata, with your secret sauce to improve your search results. Another example would be one of our clients' PC Connection, where they have specifications that they want to create, but they don't want to have copywriters write all this. They know they already have it in very granular formats within the PIM, so they will go ahead and create within the PIM rules that would automatically combine multiple attributes and automatically create all the specification information without a human having to write them. And this, again, is another advantage to a PIM solution. As you do that, you can imagine numeric calculations coming up with all kinds of information within the PIM so people don't have to convert it, and text descriptions also being created within the PIM so that people don't have to convert it. Then there's the faceted site search results so that you can create all of these sections of information to go to your Endeca, SLI, or other type of faceted navigation tool within the commerce solution. The relationships are easily identified, but you can also create other relationship groupings of your own naming. They're not hard-coded, and then that way they're unique to each business requirement. Inheritance is a very, very strong tool within a Tier 1 PIM, so that you can take the master product catalog and then have that information. Let's say you have 100 attributes about a product, and maybe 15 of those attributes would automatically syndicate to your mobile channel. Maybe 75 of those attributes would automatically syndicate to your web channel, and maybe 12 of them would automatically syndicate to your Adobe InDesign desktop publishers for them to be able to automatically grab everything from one golden record of truth about that product. Then from there, further, let's say the web store channel wouldn't be able to syndicate information out to maybe your extranet site so that when people log in, they have their own prices and their own shopping experience, to your retail channel, and also to your wholesale website. Or possibly it might be different for another company that's global. It might be going out to the English website, the German website, and the French website, and have all that content automatically converted on the fly, and having the workflow move it to all of those people who are proofreading the content before it goes live on those different language version web stores. This is our Inheritance Publish screen where you can manage and predefine all of the inheritance rules so that each time you add another product to that particular master catalog, it will automatically take on all of the publishing attributes based on the rules you set up right here. The last reason why someone would get a PIM that I'm seeing out there is empowering their social marketplaces, and very importantly, empowering the resellers of their products by giving them product catalogs that isolate only the content that they want to take in. So let's say a distributor of do-it-yourself things wants to get information out to Lowe's very frequently, and Lowe's would be able to get just the content that they want from that distributor. They'd also be able to set it up in the taxonomy structure that Lowe's presents on their website. So again, they can take it in a way and ingest it and get it transformed over to their sales channel right away. It could be mapped so that the PIM will map the order of the content, again, making it easier for Lowe's to consume it. And it'll automatically be created. So maybe every night or every 5 minutes, you'll be creating these files, sending them to Lowe's to automatically ingest, and also creating any changes to existing products, such as price changes, so that Lowe's, again, can adjust it. and easily make those changes, additions, and deletions in the PIM. So through that, a user of the Riversand PIM would be able to create their data export rules for Lowe's and identify the channel it's going to, automatically create how often it's going to happen, what format, and whether it's going to be a full file of all products or just the new products. Those products are going to go through a process that we call an aggregation and syndication, where the system will automatically do it. And then it'll go to Lowe's for all of their sales channels, whether it's digital, mobile, print, so it's not just web only. So I'll take maybe 2 minutes to talk a little bit about Riversand. We are a highly recognized PIM supplier in the marketplace. We're self-funded. We've got very high ranking within Gartner, as they've taken a look at us and said out of all the solutions they've looked at, we're the lowest total cost of ownership. We have a very visionary roadmap. Our ability to do data modeling within the solution for business users and not have to get IT people involved is one of their top PIM suppliers. We integrate with a lot of very large solutions. Got some very large customers as well. And our ability to manage data quality within the system, they rank very highly. Some examples of some of our large clients go across manufacturing, energy, distribution, retail. We've got some very, very nice clients, and as you look at this, even a broader smattering of our customer base. And for companies that really go, okay, this sounds good, but like Kelly said, information is just all over the place in an organization. We really want to focus on the low-hanging fruit to maybe do an ROI assessment before we engage the two firms of Riversand and First San Francisco Partners. We will go out and do what's called a value stream assessment that takes 2 to 3 weeks, where we interview people and we try to help you find the low-hanging fruit. We'll do a report, an assessment to you, and allow you then to evaluate what the ROI potentials are of creating a PIM solution environment and centralizing that. So from that, I'm done, and I'd like to turn it back over to our moderator because there might be some questions to answer.
Hi, thank you, Ross. I know that we're running tight on time. I'm only going to go with the first couple questions, and then if anybody else has additional questions, they can email them to info@riversand.com, and we will respond via email or give you a call. The first question is, what are other ways we can comply if we don't do data governance, data quality, or master data management? I guess that might be more for you, Kelly.
Sure. So that's a good question, actually, because this is one approach that you could take. So the reality is that currently the data that you need to comply to the UDI initiative most likely exists within your systems. So you can pull together that data in different ways. So via point-to-point integration, you can custom build an aggregated hub, and from that, then create a submission process up to the regulator. You could also submit directly from each of your labeling systems to the regulator. So there are definitely different ways to do it. We have assessed those different ways and found that this creates a more scalable approach and essentially enables you to do the content aggregation and the product data aggregation, the product data quality assessments, and the application of a unique identifier to each device in a more scalable way so that you're not doing it on an ad hoc by ad hoc basis across each of your manufacturing plants and each of your labeling systems. So we found that this is the most efficient, and it sets you up for leveraging that product data in different ways to, for example, improve your analysis around product data per distributor or complaints management and handling. So I hope that
Great.
helps.
And we have two more questions. One is how long, actually there's sort of double in one, how long does it take to get started with Riversand or PIM solution, and what is the implementation time frame?
I guess I'll take that, Sue. You know, if you've got 100,000 SKUs and 20 users, not a lot of interfaces of product data coming in, and a lot of point-to-point systems to implement, I would say it can be done in 3 months if you've got good data quality. And if you've got something a little more global in nature, such as multiple languages, measurements, currencies, you've got more like 1 million or 2 million SKUs, you're probably looking at something more like about 9 months.
Great. And if I have other products besides devices, can I use the product information management solution in other areas of my organization?
Yeah, you can. We kind of find that the implementation of the solution is around product is quite often used first for the product facing all of your internal systems and your sales channels. A lot of companies will use it for all products as a hub within their organizations, but then they'll back it into raw materials if they are truly making the item or driving the manufacturing process to their sub-channels. Outside of that, you can then add on other data domains, such as your customers or your vendors, and start to drive relationships between them because Riversand is architected in a way that you are housing all of it within the same data environment and can easily build some relationships that will allow you to derive tremendous insight.
Great. Well, I think that's all the questions at this time, because I know we're running a little over. Rob, I want to thank you, and for all the participants, I want to thank you again for your valuable time today. Please feel free to submit any additional questions, as mentioned, to info@riversand.com, and we'll get back to you via email or give you a call. We also have recorded this session, and we'll email you the link to share the presentation with others in your organization. Again, thank you for your time, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.